But then I went back to, I think the third one I got was an Eldorado Tesoro, and it was a relic machine with no meter.
Right.
And I went back to not using the meter. But
what's funny,
mostly, about half and half over the years. Probably more toward probably about 60 or 65% of the machines I've ever had didn't have a meter on them.
I found when went from the White's machines with the readouts and stuff, which are nice. I mean, they were good machines and still are. But when I went to hunting, I was hunting by sound a lot of times, even with those. Yeah, I'd look at the meter and this and that, but I mean, I think I missed a lot of targets because I was trying to micromanage the VDI numbers and stuff, and trying to stick with solid VDIs, and you just didn't realize, couldn't comprehend that I wasn't getting, at certain depths that's just going to be jumpy, and you got to dig it by sound. If it sounds good, dig it, type of thought pattern. But we were out, on the beach, and I usually use headphones all the time, but Paul came out with this on Monday night, and it's like 9:30 at night, and we go out to hunt. Well, he had a mishap with his detector and didn't bring an extra, and I thought I'd brought an extra one. I only brought the one detector. I thought I had both control boxes, for two detectors there. But anyways, so he was hunting alongside of me. He's kind of digging the targets or whatever, and I had the headphones unplugged. And you think at night, during the daytime you deal with people, they always come up to you and stuff like that. Well, out of the blue, we got I want to say 2 or 3, I don't know, 13-year-old, I'm guessing, girls and their mom, and all of a sudden we had a crowd. They were crowded around us, and Mike, he wandered off somehow. He got out of that situation, but they were actually interested in us hunting. They weren't like trying to dig the targets, or they were watching, and I get a target. And the girls were saying, well, that sounds good. No, I said that's spit too much, and it was, it wasn't. It's not a good target. It's one of those junky targets. And she goes, well, what does it sound like when it's good? And I was letting her listen to it. It's right there at the speaker. And I said, here's a good one. And we're digging it up. And they were so intent that, I think I dug a bottle cap. I said, here you go. I found a bottle cap for you. And, Mike or Paul was joking with them. And she goes, what else do you find? And I'm like, well, sometimes you find, a gold ring maybe. But a lot of times you just find like aluminum pull tabs or whatever. It's just for the fun of it. She goes, so it's just for fun. I said, yeah, it's like a hobby, fun. And Mike goes, yeah, and Mike says, or not Mike, but Paul says, yeah, and you just have to ignore the times that you find the dead bodies out here, because that's really like negative. And they were like, what? So they were having, and the mom was just, she knew we were joking around with them and stuff like that. But I think she was just as interested too. I think most of the people out there, when you mention metal detecting, it always sparks that interest of, buried treasure, or all the stuff you find, and what are you finding, and you get all these questions. And obviously when you're out there hunting, you don't want to deal with that part of it all the time, but they were actually having fun with it. And I wasn't finding it. I find a quarter here or a nickel here or whatever. They were having fun. I wasn't finding anything great or nothing like that. But Mike wandered off. He was on the move, and Paul and I sat there and talked for a few minutes, and then they kind of left out of there. And but yeah, it was a good time to show Paul what I was talking about, like pinpointing and letting them hear it too. I mean, Paul has a V6 and has done pretty well with it and stuff like that. And so is Mike. And when you hunt together like that, when one guy's metal detecting and the other guy's listening, it does help a lot more, I think, to get your mind wrapped around, especially if you're trying to learn something from somebody. If that makes sense, especially with this detector, it kind of gives them that step.
It does. I mean,
just for
what we went through with the V3,
Yeah.
So,
well, it's like the nuance. You can explain the nuance better. You say, okay, now you hear this. This is what it is, and oh yeah, now I hear what you're talking about. Yeah, see, now it's going to be a bottle cap, or it's going to be whatever I think it's going to be. Usually, I'm about right most of the time, but it seemed to help him out a little bit more too. So, it's nice to be able to do that.
Well, what I do was, when I first, was trying to get my ear tuned into it, I'd get a signal, and then I'd pull a quarter out of my pocket and run it over the coil and listen to that and go back over the signal. And within, I don't know, 5 or 6 more times out, I was telling people when you hear that signal, it's good.
Yep.
But it's just, when you're going over a site where you're not getting any good signals, you're trying to almost make the signal sound good,
Right.
But if if it isn't perfect, especially with like the V3 and the V5,
Right.
If it's not perfect, just leave it. But in the old days, we had a hard time leaving signals in the ground.
I still do.
But this machine is so dead accurate on iron, it's unbelievable.
I talk myself into digging more stuff than the Bliss Tools tell me to, and I did a video. I haven't put it up yet. It's been such a crazy couple weeks, Craig. It's not funny, but I was out there with Pauline, my wife, and she was videoing, and she goes, "What about that thing?" I said, "That's junk. It's no good." I said, "You hear how it's breaking up at the end of it? It's clipping." And she was starting to understand what I was talking about too. It's clipping. Oh, okay. Well, dig it anyways. So I spent most of my day digging iron, it seemed like. But, it was educational for me too, because then I got the idea, okay, well, if it's bigger iron, dig it, which I usually try to do anyways, but it was enabling me to tell maybe shapes. It's so hard to explain a sound to somebody, whether a radio or a post or whatever. It's
no
so
words
hard.
For it.
Right. I mean, you came up with nuance in the tone. I mean, it's just different. You definitely know when you go over something good. But the problem I have is I get over more junk lately. These are sites that are, either I've hunted to death or they're brand new sites. So I'm kind of getting my mind wrapped around stuff. And again, with these other coils, and each coil reacts a little different. Like the 7x9 is definitely different than the other two as far as how sensitive it is and stuff like that. So you have to give yourself a little bit of a leeway there to that day to, first 20 minutes, I'm only going to dig really clean sounds because if I start digging these choppy ones, I know it's going to be iron, but it's hard to program yourself like that. So I don't know what's going on with my computer. It's jumping all over the place trying to log on. I'm on the internet, Craig,
really?
At the same time. Yeah, it just keeps on popping up. I don't know what the deal is. Like it's going to Google or Chrome or whatever. Like it wants me to do a Google search or something. I don't know. This Alienware, I don't know. Maybe it has an alien in it. I don't know.
Yeah, really.
But yeah, I mean, I've done some stuff with the YouTube channel. I know Craig has too, where we're trying to make these playlists. And I haven't worked on mine a lot. I mean, I have a couple, 3 or 4 playlists there with basic pinpointing videos, ground balance videos, and I'm going to try to get through these things. I have like 130 videos I got to go through and try to categorize them a little bit better to help you guys be able to. Each one has each playlist has its topic or whatever, where you can click on it and get to stuff easier. And a lot of these do apply to. Like if you're watching a V3 video about ground balancing, it's going to apply to the V4, 5, and 6 as far as ground balancing. So you could still watch the older videos. They do apply to now the new ones are a little bit more in depth as far as the other functions. But basically they pinpoint the same in the same spot. They ground balance the same. All the tricks with the tone and the threshold, those are all basic functions. They are calibrated a lot higher on the V6. So the main ones you're going to run into is your discrimination levels may be a little bit different, and your gain is definitely going to be different from a V3 to a V6 because of the power it's throwing out compared to the other ones. So, but they're all basic. They're basic can be interchanged between the models. So that helps you out a lot. Watching those at least gives you an idea. And I was noticing even on the Hardcore Metal Detecting Facebook pages, we're getting a lot more people liking it. They're looking at it and following us on Hardcore here. That's really nice. And for those of you kind of new to the show, or first-time listeners or whatever, you can like, and also you can follow the show so you can get the email updates and stuff about when we're doing shows, or if we're having a special show or something like that. So make sure you like and follow it. It helps. I think it helps with our ratings somehow, but it's nice to know who's watching it and make comments too. I mean, we got a lot of guys on chat right here that they got a ton of knowledge, more than me. A lot of them, these guys have anywhere from 10 to 30 years metal detecting experience. So, feel free to get on there and ask them a few questions and stuff, and they might be able to help you out with some settings or advice on how to hunt an area or whatever. Feel free to do that. And guys, we do have a chat on the website. And I haven't tried it out because it's hard to do the show and try it out too. So we do have it on the website. There is a chat page there. I don't know how directly linked it is to this one though. So my daughter Bethany's been trying to get this stuff kind of like molded into one another as far as the forum, the websites, the Facebook pages, so they all link together and stuff. So I know you can listen off the forum. It has the icon for hardcore metal detecting. You just click on it, it takes you right here. So hopefully all this stuff is working out. We're making a lot of changes. It's a lot of encoding though, the coding of the website and stuff. So look for the added, I guess, functions, editing functions or whatever when you're putting up your posts and stuff. I think there's some more stuff on there too. So we're getting high class, brother. We got everything going.
Well, I like it, but it seems like it's accelerating. It's like all these apps for Facebook. Like every 2 weeks they're upgrading, and especially on the mobile.
I know.
Stuff, but anyway,
well,
sometimes it's like when my phone bricked, and I had the same password for 10 years or 9 years, I guess, with Apple. And so they made me go to a much, higher encryption. And next thing I know, every device, is asking, for my password. Oh, my God.
That drives me crazy. These passwords, and I know everybody probably deals with this.
Oh my God! I know. I changed a bunch of them recently.
Well, when you start talking about I have like 6 different email addresses. I mean, of course, the forum, the Facebook pages, all this stuff, and they'll ask you, and I try to, make them difficult enough where people can't figure them out, obviously. But then I start forgetting, and I'm writing them down, and the next thing you know, like my email provider, oh, we think it's time for you to change your password, and won't let you do anything until you change your password. It's like, God, what did I use? And you can't use something you used a year ago, and it's like, you're just ready to, bang your head against the wall.
I kept doing one.
Oh, jeez.
When I was at the Apple store, logging, putting a new password in, it kept saying that it wouldn't accept it, and I'm like, what the heck? And then I had to have one capital in it. Numbers and
right. They want to be. I don't know. It just drives you crazy. I wish you could just have one password for everything and be done with it, but it's not the world we live in. But my wife was telling me, she goes, you have to check out everything, you have to answer everybody and stuff like that. I said, I try to do the best I can, but I get like 150 emails a day, and they're all important. And you try to get through them, and some of them are spam and stuff like that. You have to be careful on that, but when you're dealing with Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and all the messages on it does get very, very time consuming, and you don't want to not answer somebody's question. To me, it just drives me crazy trying to make the time to get a good enough answer out so they can understand what I'm talking about, and it helps them. And Craig, I know you deal with the same thing. It's a good problem to have, but it's also my wife can spend.
I get so many emails; it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I feel bad. I always tell people, I'm sorry for not getting back to you right away. It's only
some Facebook pages that put, they have so many comments. If you comment on that page, then you get like dozens of emails, and sometimes you get these things where they go on for 100 comments, and you're just sitting there going, "Oh my God!" And just go click, 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 click.
Oh yeah.
Them all out.
My smartphone blows up with like 90 different Facebook things.
Turn off the notifications from that site.
Yeah. I just, there's no easy way to do it. And, one guy's talking about getting a link in the request all the time, as far as the Facebook stuff. And of course, birthdays and stuff. I literally, when my birthday came around and everybody's wishing me a happy birthday, I think I answered every person's post, wish me happy, thanks or, thank you or whatever.